Get straight into it.
Smiles is a rapper who came out of nowhere, releasing his first song on September 3rd of 2020, and the following day he was featured on 6ix9ine's album Tattletales. At the time, he only had 300 monthly listeners. Following that, he secured features with artists like Uno the Activist and Snoop Dogg. After further investigating, I found out that he even had a song with Playboi Carti back in the day. So it left me wondering, how did this artist seemingly come out of nowhere and secure features with big name artists like this? At first, it just screamed industry plant to me, but after further investigating, I realized that his career is much more interesting than your everyday industry plant. So join me today as we look into the rapper who bought his career.
You caught me.
So I actually covered Smiles a while ago in my video called Industry Plants That Failed. There were definitely a lot of missing pieces, but I did have a good hypothesis. And to make sure I could confirm my theory, I called him up myself and asked whether or not it was true. So let's start off with what we know. Smiles came out with his first song, Head Shoulders, in 2020. And the following day he was featured on 6ix9ine's album. He continued releasing singles, and only 3 songs later came out with a song featuring Snoop Dogg. 4 songs after that, he had a song featuring Uno the Activist. Now since then he hasn't had any other crazy features, but just the fact he was able to get those right away was pretty surprising. All of these songs were released under the label Create Music Group, a label that has worked with artists like 6ix9ine, YNW Melly, and plenty more. So at first it just seems like your everyday industry plant, but there's much more to the story. The first thing that became apparent to me when looking into Smiles is that he had some money. So his dad is a guy named Bruno Mascalo, who is a multi-millionaire. He's one of the founders of the hairstyle company Tony & Guy. I even found a picture of him with Harry Styles, so maybe he had some music industry connections. I found 3 pieces of evidence that helped me to be sure that this guy was his dad. The first one was that he follows both Smiles and a Smiles fan page on Instagram. The second was that they both have the same name. And the third was that he mentioned in an interview that he has a son in a rock band in LA. And you're probably thinking, Smiles is a rapper, not some dude in a rock band in LA. Well, that article was actually from 2011, and after reading that is when I found out that he used to be in a band called Drive A. In 2007, when Smiles was just a 14-year-old Bruno Mascalo, he formed the band Drive A with some friends. He said he grew up listening to punk rock and hip-hop, but got his first guitar when he was young and really took an interest to the punk rock scene. Throughout his time in the band, they played many shows, released 2 full-length albums, have a handful of music videos out with solid views, and even did some tours. After I made my first video, I saw many people in the comments who actually remembered Drive A, and a lot of people looked like they were looking back on it with fondness or being surprised that the frontman later transitioned into a rap career. I also saw a ton of interviews with the band back then, so it seemed like they were making some noise.
Right.
An interesting thing to note about all of these articles is that no one ever brought up or mentioned or asked about his parents, so I'm wondering if that was something that was kept low-key from the beginning, or if it was just something
Probably
journalists
on
didn't want to
purpose.
touch on. When originally researching, I was not sure whether or not his Drive A adventures were funded by his parents. I figured he probably had some help as he started out very young, but on the flip side, it's obvious they did have fans and were probably making some decent money. By 2011, the band had broken up, and shortly after that, Smiles joined a new band called Raw Fabrics under the alias Jack Franco. Like I said, Raw Fabrics started in 2011, and by 2014, they had just finished a nationwide tour and were preparing to release their debut EP called Gold Handcuffs. In 2015, though, after Raw Fabrics released their second EP, the band broke up. Jack Franco was the last remaining member, who then switched his name again to Jack Bruno. He also mentioned in an interview struggling with drugs, which I thought may have had a hand in the band's breakup. Jack Bruno was active as Raw Fabrics until 2016, when he decided to go solo as Jack Bruno. But instead of making rock music, he decided to start making rap. The earliest music I could find from the rapper Jack Bruno was from 2017, which is when his career really began to get weird. He had songs featuring Famous Dex, who was super hot at the time, and he also had a song with Playboi Carti called Siggy Said Light. He also had some music released under the name 92 Jack, so he's gone under various aliases throughout his career. But what really stumped me when I was originally researching for my last video is that somehow Smiles had all of these connections in the music industry, and I just couldn't figure out why. He's opened for artists like Wiz Khalifa, Juice WRLD, Lil Pump, Lil Skies, 6ix9ine, and Ray Shremmerd. A lot of people were wondering, along with myself, how he was able to get these connections, and I did see some speculation on Reddit admitted that he paid to get on these tours. One thing that I did see him mentioning in recent interviews is how he got that 6ix9ine feature. Like the other features, I just assumed that it was paid for by his parents, but he claims that after opening for 6ix9ine on tour, he became friends with some of 6ix9ine's friends. And after 6ix9ine got out of jail, he says that they vouched for him to get the feature.
Right.
So we were just like, well, we get along with him. And so when he got out, it was kind of like, damn, you know, like I respect, you know, like Smiles like hung by my day ones. We end up at the safe house when he's making that album.
Regardless of whether or not this is true though, it doesn't explain how he was able to get these other big name features with artists like Cardi or Snoop Dogg, which I'd imagine are much harder to get. Plus at the time 6ix9ine got out of jail, I doubt there were too many other artists who were willing to work with him. But then in 2020, Jack Bruno again rebranded into Smiles. The image he was running with kind of made me think industry plant, but also the money that his parents had kind of made me think he planted himself in the industry. But when I posted the video,
that's what I'm feeling.
Answer. So this was all of the information I was able to find for my previous video. All of it was based on a scarce amount of articles that were left remaining on the internet. Interestingly enough, a couple of those articles were deleted following the video. I'm not sure if that was Smiles or what happened, but they're gone now. The theory I put together for the video was that Smiles had a successful career in the rock scene, may have made some money, but not enough to fund a rap career. So I theorized that his parents helped him out with features from artists like 6ix9ine, Snoop Dogg, and Playboi Carti. I posted the video confident in my incomplete theory, thinking that this was the rapper who bought his career. But I was also still curious to know more. After no more comments providing any information about his career, I was ready to give up. But then I later checked back on the video and noticed a comment from Smiles himself who offered to clear things up for me. So I DM'd him to get an interview and just simply asked him myself for this story. He agreed, and straight out of the gate I asked him whether or not his parents were the people who funded his career.
I was under the impression, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like from what I had seen that like you had some money to start off with and kind of funded your own career with your family. Is that inaccurate too, or no?
To a certain extent. And I'm not gonna lie, it's not like I try to hide that, but it's kind of like it's impressive to people when they hear that at first, usually when I like will meet people. So then when I try to make it about like, hey, I, you know, make music, I do, it kind of is like, cool, we don't care.
When I first asked him this question, he did talk about how his parents had a lot of money, but he also mentioned how he doesn't like to talk about it publicly because he just doesn't like how that makes people look at him. He says it overshadows his music, and especially since he's really into punk rock and rap, it's just not cool, which I guess I can understand. He told me he just explained the full story so I can understand it better, and he began by telling me that as a kid, him and his family moved to LA, which is when he started the band Drive A. After doing a Battle of the Bands competition at their school, his band got some connections. He admitted to me right away that obviously his parents were funding his career because he was 14 or 15 years old at the time, which is definitely fair enough. I don't think you can mow enough lawns to pay for a recording studio or going on tours.
You can get yourself into the right room in LA. Met a producer, end up working with the producer at 13, 14. At this point, yeah, my parents are funding my career. I'm not.
I mean, you're 14. Yeah,
you know.
The band continued touring and saw some success in the punk rock scene. He says by the time he was 19 though, he wanted some respect and was sick of being looked at as someone who made it due to his parents' money. So he got a job, left Drive A, and it didn't change anything.
It got in my head, I need to make it on my own without the help of family or anything, because they helped me a lot at the beginning of Drive A. And I got a job at the pizza shop and was like delivering food for a year, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna earn people's respect. But the truth is too, it's like people don't really care that much.
While working, he said that he taught himself to engineer and write better, and also joined the band Raw Fabrics. Smiles told me that after Raw Fabrics, he started doing side jobs like ghostwriting and producing, helping to earn his own money, since he said he always had this drive to not rely solely on his parents.
Also at this point too, I started like writing songs a lot, but I would start like ghost writing. So I would like kind of like taking the relationships I built from tours and stuff and selling my songs to artists and getting work like that, you know, a little bit.
Yeah.
So I always had this drive in me that I didn't want to just rely on, you know, my parents. I wanted to make something of myself.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't give me, I don't look at what my parents have done, accomplished, and say, oh, I've accomplished that. No, I haven't.
But I still wanted
That's
to get
what's
to the
up.
real meat and
That's
potatoes.
what's up. I
Did
like
he
that.
pay for that Playboi Carti feature? But Smiles told me it wasn't as simple as that. He explained how he began making connections with other artists
But I
and
mean, you
producers
kind
in the
of
hip-hop
a
scene,
lot of people
which
pay
made him
for
want to start
features.
rapping. He even said he pretended to be his own manager so that he could get into contact with other artists and producers in the scene. Smiles continued to tell me that he asked 6ix9ine's manager to open for him on his Europe tour, and through that he became friends with a lot of 6ix9ine's friends as well. Then after 6ix9ine was let out of jail, his friends helped him get onto 6ix9ine's album Tattletales.
Through that, what was cool was I became really good friends with 6ix9ine's like high school friends who were on tour with him.
So he said the same thing here about the 6ix9ine thing, which kind of makes me think it's true because he's just doubling down on it. But what about the other features? He says eventually he got into contact with Hit Boy, and he did admit that he had some help.
I end up doing a song with Hit Boy producing it, which is expensive. I'm not gonna lie. No, I asked my parents to help with some of that. You caught me. But I did pay for most of it too because I was ghostwriting a lot at that point.
So while he was working on the songs with Hit Boy mentioned getting him a good feature. Hit Boy was with Carti and asked how much he would charge Smiles. After getting a price, he was trying to negotiate, and after negotiating, he used half of the money he had saved and asked for an investment for the second half of the feature from his parents.
Put on
I
a
have some money
bit,
saved
though.
up, but I don't like have enough. I'm like, can I pay fucking half of it and then, or like in a couple months we pay the other half, or like can we work something out? I paid for the first half, and then eventually my parents paid for the other.
So it looks like my theory was at least partially true. He did get some help from his parents, but also claims to have been trying to do his own thing as well. And by the end of the interview, I forgot to ask about the Snoop Dogg feature, but I'm going to assume that it was a similar situation to the Playboi Carti one. So if I had to guess, it seems like my theory was at least about 75% true. Smiles explained to me that he's been hustling and making connections, but the money has definitely been a help. I think he explained it best in this clip.
It's not really like I'm just sitting here and I'm like, Mom and Dad, can I have a career in rap? Like, no. They're like, what the fuck? We don't want you to be a musician. Go to fucking school, go be a lawyer. I knew it was like people Google my parents and they go, aha, we found it. You're exposed. And I'm like, dude, it's really more complicated like that.
However, I have to say I do respect him for keeping it real with me. A lot of people probably would have just lied or denied the fact that their parents had money or said these aren't my parents. But it seemed like he was being honest with me, so it makes me more inclined to believe the rest of his story. I appreciate the fact he even agreed to the interview, and he seemed very genuine about how he wants to move past the fact that his parents have money and solidify himself as an actual artist. Regardless of whether or not you believe the story, it looks like, my intuition was correct. I'll post the whole interview on my second channel so you guys can get an idea of what I mean and judge for yourself if you want to believe the story. But all in all, I think Smiles had a very fascinating career that was definitely interesting to look into. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to leave a like. And other than that, this has been Matty Balls, and I'll see you guys next time.
Alright guys, you heard the guy. If you like this video, you could go check out Matty Balls, subscribe to him, and drop a like, yo. That was his video, his content. I'm just doing a quick reaction to it. So thank you for watching my reaction video while I did some art on my iPad here. I'm working on a cover right now for an artist in Philly. Got an album coming out soon. You know what I mean? Like I said, I do a lot of different art, bro. So when I get monetized, I can't wait to show y'all all the tips and tricks. But yeah, gang, I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.